I salute those of you who have pushed the accountability bar high so far and encourage you not to lose hope. They say the night is darkest just before dawn. So all the things happening, all the atrocities happening, our darkest hour. But like has already been said by one speaker, a people united shall never be defeated. Bangladesh was a great encouragement yesterday and something to lift up our spirits. You have asked me to compare this to the second liberation. And with that, I'll just say each generation has its role cut out. And in each generation, it is the youth or the youthful people who are the engine of the revolution. In the 90s, in our early 30s, we were part of the liberation. We were able to question Moi when many people were fearing. We were able to speak out and take the risk. And some died. Some were taken into custody. And because of the resilience, going on and on, it was nothing similar to what is happening today. It took longer, but eventually the people won against the dictatorial regime, and we got plural democracy. It took us another 10 years because the opposition never won the first time, and the second time, it took us 10 years to even get a change of government. It took us another almost 8 years, even after Kibaki's rule, to get the constitution, the 2010 constitution, which itself took a journey of almost 20 years. What you are doing this time is phenomenal. Using social media, you have been able to mobilize more than any politician has ever done. At the peak of the demonstrations, it looked like a South American carnival because of the level of attendance. I would plead that you don't lose hope. We don't lose hope as a country. Atrocities have been committed. So many people dead. We say 60 because that's the number given by the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. But with the extra bodies at the mortuary at the peak of demonstrations, with bodies dumped everywhere, including in the quarry, it would not be unimaginable to think that maybe it's close to 200 that may have perished. We should not lose hope because what we are fighting for is our country and our space. But I am beginning to think, and I'm seeing calls by the Gen Z on Twitter and other spaces, asking that now everybody should join. And I actually think that it's now gone beyond us expecting you as the youth to do something. People should join in their individual capacity, not as parties, not as movements, but we all must support this push so that it can have a groundswell sufficient to do the remaining work. I want to say that there's a lot of distraction. People trying to divide people regionally to claim that those of us from the mountain would want Ruto to go for Gachagua to come in, which is nonsensical. Because what is happening, the core Ruto must go. Ruto is the head of government. So his name is the one that is on the front, and he is at the forefront. But the way I understand it is that mandate has been withdrawn from the entire government. It's Ruto and his entire complement. And Kenyans want a fresh start. People have spoken. They have taken their sovereignty and exercised it directly, withdrawing mandate from Ruto. The distractions that are there today is allegations that the movement is funded. Nobody can fund, not even the Ford Foundation. Nobody can fund such a widespread movement. 35 counties at the peak, and I suspect it was more than 35. 35 is where the press was able to reach. No politician, not even the government of Ruto, can fund such a thing. So this is a distraction to engage us in discussions of possibly who is funding. The looming impeachment, again, a distraction so that people may be distracted to discuss. Cabinet vetting, another distraction, because if one has no mandate, how do you then appoint? After dissolving cabinet, he ought to have left, but he left himself, the presidency himself, Gachagua and Mudavadi, and now appointed others. We've been engaged for a week looking at the profiles of those appointed. I believe all these are very deliberate distractions so that the issue can shift from the issues of accountability demanded by the Gen Z. I pray that we keep our eyes fixed on the ball and realize that the greatest problem for transparency and accountability in this country is the presidency and the entire government. And leading the presidency is Ruto and Gachagua. Nothing under them is going to change. It has to be a fresh start. And once, as politicians, we seek to join them, then we are accepting to carry the burden of all those misdeeds, the blood of all those who have perished, all those who have been injured and maimed. And I think that within we declare our unsuitability because we are not able to see the people's demands. The other thing I want to say is that even after we get there, the vigilance must be for always. And anybody seeking leadership now must know that it will not be exclusive. It will be co-leadership with the people. That whatever position you hold, you have to refer to the people, you have to listen to them and act on their demands. What brought out these demonstrations was the refusal of the regime to act on people's concerns regarding the finance bill. And you remember this happened in 2003. They ignored, and the court gave a stay which enabled them to collect the taxes. Thankfully, the court now has thrown that out, which will bring a lot of complications to the regime, and which they invited. I'm entirely not sympathetic. The same thing happened in this year, but it brought this uprising by the people seeking accountability. Because if you are acting for the people and not for yourself, you have to do what the people want. So I'm saying moving forward, let us keep our vigilance for always. Let us remind leaders, including myself, leadership is not exclusive. It's co-shared with the people of Kenya. As the employer, they can redirect the leader at any time, and they deserve to be listened to and their concerns acted upon. We must not behave as though leadership is an entitlement. It is a privilege. It is not a title deed where you can say that for the next 5 years I've been elected. It's a privilege. It can be temporary. You may not finish the entire mandate because that privilege can be withdrawn by the very people who conferred it upon you. This is what the Ruto regime and many leaders are unable to understand, that the mandate is temporary and can be recalled. And I keep reminding that in the Western world, when a thing like this happened, leaders resign. But in Kenya and in most of Africa, people behave as though it's a title deed. I've heard Ruto and his supporters saying, mutangojea miaka 5. This is not a lease agreement where you have paid. It is not a title deed you've been given for a lease of 5 years. It's a privilege, a position of privilege and trust, and which can be withdrawn anytime. Finally, I want to say this. We saw the regime bringing goons to the street as a strategy to justify their killing, the murder of so many, the maiming, and all the other atrocities they committed, including arbitrary arrests and abductions. It is therefore not far-fetched to say that people need to be aware of these distractions, even on a day like NaneNane, which we are all looking forward to on Thursday, and devise strategies. I am not suggesting we discuss them, but people ought to be aware and re-engineer their minds to see how to deal. But the groundswell is what will stop even these distractions. Even those who may be fickle and think that a few cents for the day are worth disrupting their brothers, they will have a second thought. I'm very happy that already on this forum and in many other forums, you are calling on members of the disciplined forces, the police, the army, to remember that they too are part of us. They are our brothers. They are our neighbors. And they too are suffering. They should not agree to be used to kill, maim, and disrupt a noble initiative by the citizens. I'm very glad there was an article today in the Standard, I believe, or the Nation, on a former IG Kimayo, who is encouraging police. He's not talking about NaneNane, it's an interview, but nevertheless it's uplifting because he is saying leaders have never learned to let the IGs work independently. And therefore he is saying to act professionally, one has to, resist the temptation to be co-opted. I want to thank you. I didn't come in to talk, I came to listen. But once called out, I thought I needed to say something, not to appear like I'm snubbing the forum. Feel encouraged. It's our country. We've got to do what we have to do. And we cannot let the blood already shed be in vain. A country is not a wardrobe which one can change. And for those of us who have been in leadership before, Kenya can move on even without us. And so long as there are accountable leaders, we should be ready to step back. Nobody is stopped from seeking position of leadership, but it is not a must. It is a privilege from the people. And if it doesn't come to you at any one time, and there's good leadership, we must be able to let our country go forward, our country to breathe. God bless and thank you.
Thank you so much, Senior Counsel, for your wise words, powerful points that you have raised concerning the movement. Even one of the things we have been talking a lot about is about how our issues are systemic and how to deal with the systems, the corrupt systems of the day. And I like how you touched on that and said the new incoming system should have at the core of its leadership the people. That really embodies what we are all thinking about good governance, transparency, and accountability. And as a space, we have been really focused, disciplined and focused. We know that's what it's going to take for us to hit our objective on NaneNane. I don't know if you have much time, but we wanted to open the microphone. So if anyone had a question concerning the movement or what's around NaneNane to ask Senior Counsel. Go ahead.
I'm saying I'm available for a while.
All right, thank you so much. So if you have questions, please let me know in the comment section and I'll bring you up And if there's anyone right now on the speaker panel, if you have questions for senior counsel, please lift up your hand, help me, and I'll pick you up. Frank, KE.